So how do you actually start a lawsuit? What's the paperwork that's needed to actually get a case moving through the Oregon courts? Well, whether it's a divorce or just general litigation like a car accident or a defamation case, the complaint's going to start with an instrument called either a petition or a complaint. A petition asks the court to do something. A complaint says to the court, we're bringing a case against another person for redress of damages. In a divorce, the the divorce is actually initiated with a document called a petition for dissolution of marriage. And the petition does two things primarily. First, it gives notice to the court that you're starting a case. It is the beginning of the case, but it's giving notice to your spouse and the other party what A, that you're divorcing, and then B, what you're asking for. So the divorce petition may include things like spousal support. You're requesting spousal support or attorney fees or to divide the property and assets. And so the petition lays out and gives notice to the other side what the filer, what the petitioner is requesting the court to do. So the petition does a couple of other interesting things as well. Firstly, it lays out who the parties are. It tells the court and the opposing party who the petitioner is and who the respondent is. And those are usually the only two people in a divorce. If there's a child between the ages of 18 and 20, that child may be a child attending school, and that child may become part of the divorce process as well because they have an interest in child support. So I mentioned a moment ago that the petition tells the parties what the petitioner is asking for. And if the petitioner doesn't ask for something, they can't bring it up at trial. So, for example, if petitioners want spousal support, but it's not in the petition, the court won't allow any testimony and won't make a decision about whether or not the other spouse will be obligated to pay spousal support. And that's just a basic due process right. You have the right to be noticed about what's being requested of the court. In the same way that if you filed a car accident case against someone, you couldn't then sue them for defamation as well. You'd have to allege defamation in the car accident complaint. So I don't know if this is interesting or not. Kind of interesting to me because I'm a lawyer, but maybe not to you. The question is, what controls what goes into the petition? What are the contents of the petition? And why is that important? So what goes into the petition is governed by Oregon statute, and the ORS, the Oregon Revised Statute, at Chapter 107 controls the divorce proceedings. And within 107, there's a subsection called Contents of Petition, and that lays out exactly what you can ask for. So, for example, if you want to go back to a prior name, you can ask the court to reassign you your prior name. If you want the spouse support or child custody, all of that is laid out in the statute, and that's what you have the right to ask for. So this shows like the interplay between what the legislature authorizes, what the courts can do, and what a petitioner or a respondent can request. And I just use the word respondent for the first time because the respondent is the party that responds to the petition. And what that means is that a respondent can come in and admit or deny all of the allegations of the petition. So, for example, you can deny that the petitioner has the right for spousal support. And then you can counterclaim and bring your own allegations of what you have a right to receive and what you're asking the court to appoint to you, apportion to you. So that's what a respondent is. A respondent is responding to the complaint, to the petition, and also has the right to bring their own fresh allegations of things that they want out of the divorce as well. So once the complaint is filed with the court, it needs to be served on your spouse, who's going to become the respondent. And as soon as it's filed and served, a couple of interesting things happen. The first is that an automatic restraining order goes into effect, which says that the assets of the marriage cannot be disposed of except in the normal course of business. So, for example, you can't go out and buy that Ferrari after you file for divorce. It's not a purchase made in the normal course of business for most of us. You can't run up an extraordinary amount of debt, right? Those are things that are restrained as soon as the petition is filed and served. The second thing is that as soon as you're served, a clock starts to run on spousal support and child support. And so the petitioner can ask for spousal and child support all the way back to the time of service. So if the divorce runs a year, the court could come back and say, you owe a year's worth of back support. Another thing that happens is that you become restrained from canceling your spouse's medical insurance. You can't do that after you're served with papers for the divorce. You do it before, but you can't do it after. And then finally, parties to a divorce have a right to know everything about the finances, assets, and liabilities. Of course, in a marriage, you have the right to it. You're an owner of those things, but you have to make, after the divorce is filed and the other party asks for it, you have to make available documents documenting how much debt you have, how much assets you have, how much the assets are worth or owed on, and that becomes mandatory after the divorce is final. So let's jump to the end, because the lawsuit starts with the petition, but it ends with something called the general judgment of dissolution. And ultimately, what we're shooting for here is to get the judgment of dissolution complete. And we're going to talk about this in the last video. The last video in the series is called Trial, and that's going to be the subject of the judgment of dissolution. Is going to be the subject of that video. But where we start with the petition, we end in a judgment, and that's true for any type of case. Again, my name is Stephen Luskin. I am a divorce attorney in Portland. I've been practicing law here in Oregon since 1992. Since just a moment ago, I mentioned discovery. I think we'll pick up on the next video, part 3, part 3, with discovering what it is and why it's important. Thanks for watching.